All right, Tiffany, Trina, Lamont, Blessing, Shalom, that's Wabu. All right, y'all, we live on YouTube too. All right, beautiful people, it's Saturday, it's Saturday, it's Saturday. Ooh, let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. Hold on, I wrote that already. Let's do this. How everybody doing today? Okay, let me get this going. Auntie, President accounted for. That's Wabu, Shayla. Welcome, Nathaniel. Peaceful greetings. Shut that. That's good. All right, beautiful people. Got that plugged in. Just checking my stuff. I last night. All right, well, happy Saturday, everybody. Beautiful people. Pulling up the Shema so we can go ahead and get started here. Okay. All right. Mom, shalom, shalom. Oh, one day you're going to have to tell me why you always salute me when you greet me. It says treat, but I know you said greet. It's simple. Most of the time, the men, I'll salute the men. As simple as that. I don't know. I just started doing it. I don't know. That's why. Nothing really big. Yeah. That's simply why. Yeah. I do that. If you notice though, when you see me salute, most of the time I'll do it only to the men. So that's why that's my simple reasoning, you know? Yeah. All right. Beautiful people. Hear, therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuwah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuwah, our God, He is one God. And you shall love Yahuwah your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. And you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuwah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuwah our God for our good always, that He might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahuwah our God, as He has commanded us. Josiah, shalom. All right, beautiful people. Today, it is Saturday, May the 22nd, 2021. Today is actually born days for a bunch of people. Excuse me, for a bunch of people in my family. Like 2 of my sons were born today, 7 years apart to the exact day, May 22nd, 2003, and 96. Yeah, 1990, or I should have said 96 first, 96 and 2003. Then I have my nephew's birthday, and a niece's birthday, and my aunt's birthday, and a friend's birthday. Like everybody's birthday is today. I know what we said about the celebration of birthdays and origin and everything, but this is normally a day where everybody gets excited because there's so many of them. All right, beautiful people. So today we are reading 2 Chronicles chapter 33, 34, and 35. Then we're going to hop on over to Fossilized Customs and pick up where we left off at yesterday. All right, I'm going to send myself water. All right, y'all. My 16, time flies. My 17-year-old is officially 18 years old today. All right, y'all. It was something else I wanted to mention today. Maybe it'll come back to me. That's why I paused for a second. Okay. Maybe it'll come back to me. Okay. Second Chronicles chapter 33, y'all. Manasseh was 12 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 55 years. He did what was evil in Yahuwah's sight, following the detestable practices of the pagan nations that Yahuwah had driven from the land ahead of the Israelites. He rebuilt the pagan shrines his father Hezekiah had broken down. He constructed altars for the images of Baal and set up Asherah poles. He also bowed before all the powers of the heavens and worshiped them. He built pagan altars in the temple of Yahuwah, the place where Yahuwah had said, "My name will remain in Jerusalem forever." He built these altars for all the powers of heavens in both courtyards of Yahuwah's temple. Manasseh also sacrificed his own sons in a fire in the valley of Ben Hinnom. He practiced sorcery, divination, and witchcraft, and he consulted with mediums and psychics. He did much that was evil in Yahuwah's sight, arousing his anger. Manasseh even took a carved idol he had made and set it up in Yahuwah's temple, the very place where Yahuwah had told David and his son Solomon, "My name will be honored forever in this temple and in Jerusalem, the city I have chosen from among all the tribes of Israel. If the Israelites will be careful to obey my commands, all the laws, decrees, and regulations given through Moses, I will not send them into exile from this land that I set aside for your ancestors." But Manasseh led the people of Judah and Jerusalem to do even more evil than the pagan nations that Yahuwah had destroyed when the people of Israel entered the land. How do you exile wicked people, then your own people become even more wicked than the wicked people you kicked out? Boy, we got to get it together, people. Yahuwah spoke to Manasseh and his people, but they ignored all his warnings. So Yahuwah sent the commanders of the Assyrian armies. Let's hear that again. So Yahuwah sent the commanders of the Assyrian armies, and they took Manasseh prisoner. They put a ring through his nose and bound him in bronze chains and led him away to Babylon. But while in deep distress, Manasseh sought Yahuwah his God and sincerely humbled himself before the God of his ancestors. And when he prayed, Yahuwah listened to him and was moved by his request. So Yahuwah brought Manasseh back to Jerusalem to his kingdom. Then Manasseh finally realized that Yahuwah alone is God. After this, Manasseh rebuilt the outer wall of the city of David from the west of Gihon Spring in the Kidron Valley to the Fish Gate and continuing around the hill of Ophel. He built the wall very high, and he stationed his military officers in all of the fortified towns of Judah. Manasseh also removed the foreign gods and the idol from Yahuwah's temple. He tore down all the altars he had built on the hill where the temple stood and all the altars that were in Jerusalem, and he dumped them outside the city. Then he restored the altar of Yahuwah and sacrificed peace offerings and thanksgiving offerings on it. He also encouraged the people of Judah to worship Yahuwah, the God of Israel. However, the people still sacrificed at the pagan shrines, though only to Yahuwah, their God. The rest of the events of Manasseh's reign, his prayers to Yahuwah, and the words the seers spoke to him in the name of Yahuwah, the God of Israel, are recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. Manasseh's prayer, the account of the way Yahuwah answered him, and the account of all his sins and unfaithfulness are recorded in the record of the seers. It includes a list of the location where he built the pagan shrines and set up Asherah poles and idols before he humbled himself and repented. Then Manasseh died. He was buried in his palace. Then his son Ammon became the next king. Ammon was 22 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 2 years. He did what was evil in Yahuwah's sight, just as his father Manasseh had done. He worshipped and sacrificed to all the idols his father had made. But unlike his father, he did not humble himself before Yahuwah. Instead, Ammon sinned even more. Then Ammon's own officials conspired against him and assassinated him in his palace. But the people of the land killed all those who had conspired against King Ammon, and they made his son Josiah the next king. All right, y'all. Second Chronicles chapter 34. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. He did what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight and followed the example of his ancestor David. He did not turn away from doing what was right. During the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, Josiah began to seek Yahuwah, the God of his ancestor David. Then in the 12th year, he began to purify Judah and Jerusalem, destroying all the pagan shrines, the Asherah poles, and the carved idols and cast images. He ordered that the altars of Baal be demolished and that the incense altars which stood above them be broken down. He also made sure that the Asherah poles, the carved idols, and the cast images were smashed and scattered over the graves of those who sacrificed to them. He burnt the bones of the pagan priests on their own altars, so he purified Judah and Jerusalem. He did the same thing in the towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simeon, even as far as Naphtali, and in the regions all around them. He destroyed the pagan altars and the Asherah poles, and he crushed the idols into dust. He cut down all the incense altars throughout the land of Israel. Finally, he returned to Jerusalem. Look, think about this, y'all. What if, I know this is our captor's land, but when I be reading this, I think about, you guys ever watch them Left Behind movies, right? I used to be big on watching the Left Behind movies. So you see all this stuff in the Left Behind movies being left behind, and after the rapture happens, those who take the mark of the beast, they began turning on everybody else who was still either trying to decide whether they want to take this mark or whether they want to just try and flee or live or go completely off grid and live underground, right? Shalom, Hezekiah. So I be thinking about, I don't know that this would happen, but I think about it. You remember how I said it a few times that when we wake up and we realize, first of all, who we are, right? And then we realize that we're only supposed to be worshiping Yahuwah. How people began to turn against us, like we're the blasphemers, and we're like we've turned away from the true faith. It's like Christianity, what you're taught in Christianity, when I sit back and think about it, because I used to talk to my mom, my sister all the time, I'm like, you know what? I said, if I didn't know any better, I would think that Christianity is preparing the people who are steeped in Christianity. They are preparing them to fight against those who wake up, right? And call us like Antichrist. And those who pretty much have fallen away from the way, right? That fall away from Christianity, right? I was like, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like we're the blasphemers, right? So when I think about this, when I read through, when they go through and what Josiah did, when they start burning the altars and crushing all the gods and stuff, and it says destroying the pagan altars and Asherah poles, he crushed the idols into dust. He cut down all the incense altars throughout the land of Israel. If you go back up, they burned the bones of the pagan priests on their own altars. Hold on, right here. He ordered that the altars of Baal be demolished and that the incense altars which stood above them be broken down. And he just kind of goes into pretty much, right? So what does that look like today? What would those altars to Baal look like today? Those would be church pulpits, right? And so you know how in the Left Behind movies, it's like the Bible becomes outlawed, but then when we look at it, we realize it's like really the New Testament that has all this left, and it's like we like put that completely away from you, burn that. And it's like it's almost we're falling into that mode that they prepared Christianity to see. So when they start seeing us doing this, as like, oh, the end times is here. They're talking about burning Bibles. They want to burn down the churches. It makes us look like the Antichrist based on what Yahuwah has taught us. And based on what Yahuwah has taught us, we are to put all of that away. But based on what Christianity teaches them, when we pull away, when we step away from that, it makes us look like the enemy when we are really champions of the truth. Y'all see what I'm talking about? So every time I read through this, it's crazy. So if we would not say that we're gonna go burn down churches, but y'all get what I'm saying for the sake of conversation, we would be those people like the churches today. It would be those churches and temples, which are these worship places of Baal. They should be burnt down, idols and stuff crushed, all of that, right? That's what it looks like today. Uncle JB, good morning. So when I read about this, I'm not sure if y'all ever thought about it, but it seems, at least to me, and from my understanding as of today, that's what it looks like to me, because you're offering mixed worship in church a lot of times, doing things the way the pagan nations do it. And you will say, don't worship me like that. Come from out there and worship me alone, right? So I'm not sure if y'all ever thought about that, but when I read through this, it's like, man, that's what that looks like today. And we would be the ones, we would be we would literally be the enemies in the Left Behind movies, right? It's crazy. Okay. I just read this little section again. During the 8th year, let me just start it over. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 31 years. He did what was pleasing in Yahuwah's sight and followed the example of his ancestor David. He did not turn away from doing what was right. During the 8th year of his reign, while he was still young, Josiah began to seek Yahuwah, the God of his ancestor David. Then in the 12th year, he began to purify Judah and Jerusalem, destroying all the pagan shrines, the Asherah poles, and the carved idols and cast images. He ordered that the altars of Baal be demolished and that the incense altars which stood above them be broken down. He also made sure that the Asherah poles, the carved idols, and the cast images were smashed and scattered over the graves of those who had sacrificed to them. He burnt the bones of the pagan priests on their own altars. So he purified Judah and Jerusalem. He did the same thing in the towns of Manasseh, Ephraim, Simeon, even as far as Naphtali, and in the regions all around them. He destroyed the pagan altars and the Asherah poles, and he crushed the idols into dust. He cut down all the incense altars throughout the land of Israel. Finally, he returned to Jerusalem. In the 18th year of his reign, after he had purified the land and the temple, Josiah appointed Shaphan, son of Azaliah, Maaseiah, Maaseiah, the governor of Jerusalem, and Joah, son of Joahaz, the royal historian, to repair the temple of Yahuwah his God. They gave Hilkiah, the high priest, the money that had been collected by the Levites who served as gatekeepers at the temple of Yahuwah. The gifts were brought by people from Manasseh, Ephraim, and from all the remnant of Israel, as well as from all Judah, Benjamin, and the people of Jerusalem. He entrusted the money to the men assigned to supervise the restoration of Yahuwah's temple. Then they paid the workers who did the repairs and renovations of the temple. They hired carpenters and builders who purchased finished stone for the walls and timber for the rafters and beams. They restored what earlier kings of Judah had allowed to fall into ruin. The workers served faithfully under the leadership of Johath and Obadiah, Levites of the Merarite clan, and Zechariah and Meshullam, Levites of the Kohathite clan. Other Levites, all of whom were skilled musicians, were put in charge of the laborers of the various trades. Still others assisted as secretaries, officials, and gatekeepers. While they were bringing out the money collected at Yahuwah's temple, Hilkiah the priest found the book of the law of Yahuwah that was written by Moses. Hilkiah said to Shaphan, the court secretary, I have found the book of the law in Yahuwah's temple. Then Hilkiah gave the scroll to Shaphan. Shaphan took the scroll to the king and reported, your officials are doing everything that they were assigned to do. The money that was collected at the temple of Yahuwah has been turned over to the supervisors and the workmen. Shaphan also told the king, Hilkiah the priest has given me a scroll. So Shaphan read it to the king. When the king heard what was written in the law, he tore his clothes in despair. Then he gave these orders to Hilkiah, son of Shaphan. Then he gave these orders to Hilkiah, Ahikam, son of Shaphan, Akbor, son of Micaiah, Shaphan, the court secretary, and Asahiah, the king's personal advisor. Go to the temple and speak to Yahuwah for me and for all the remnant of Israel and Judah. Inquire about the words written in a scroll that has been found, for Yahuwah's great anger has been poured out on us because our ancestors have not obeyed the word of Yahuwah. We have not been doing everything this scroll says we must do. And ain't that how we all felt when we found out, what are we doing? Like, we literally, if we could tear our clothes, we would have tore our clothes, right? But inwardly, like, we put on sackcloth and ashes, like, Father, forgive us. We've been doing everything you told us not to do, right? And we are constantly telling people, listen, we're not supposed to be doing this, right? Look, we have not been doing everything this scroll says we must do. So Hilkiah and the other men went to Jerusalem to consult with the prophet Huldah. She was the wife of Shalem, son of Tikvah, son of Harhaz, the keeper of the temple wardrobe. She said to them, Yahuwah, the God of Israel, has spoken. Go back and tell the men who sent you, this is what Yahuwah says. I am going to bring disaster on this city and its people. All the curses written in the scroll that was read to the king of Judah will come true. For my people have abandoned me and offered sacrifices to pagan gods, and I am very angry with them for everything that they have done. My anger will be poured out on this place, and it will not be quenched. But go to the king of Judah who sent you to seek Yahuwah and tell him, this is what Yahuwah, the God of Israel, says concerning the message you just heard. You were sorry and humbled yourself before Yahuwah when you heard his words against this city and its people. You humbled yourself and tore your clothing in despair and wept before me in repentance. And I have indeed heard you, says Yahuwah. So I will not send the promised disaster until after you have died and have been buried in peace. You yourself will not see the disaster I am going to bring on this city and its people. So they took her message back to the king. Then the king summoned all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. And the king went up to the temple of Yahuwah with all the people of Judah and Jerusalem, along with the priests and the Levites, all the people from the greatest to the least. There the king read to them the entire book of the covenant that they had found in Yahuwah's temple. The king took his place of authority beside the pillar and renewed the covenant in Yahuwah's presence. He pledged to obey Yahuwah by keeping all his commands, laws, and decrees with all his heart and soul. He promised to obey all the terms of the covenant that were written in a scroll, and he required everyone in Jerusalem and the people of Benjamin to make a similar pledge. The people of Jerusalem did so, renewing their covenant with Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors. So Josiah removed all detestable idols from the entire land of Israel and required everyone to worship Yahuwah their God. And throughout the rest of his lifetime, they did not turn away from Yahuwah, the God of their ancestors. Let me make a note. I looked at it in the current Bible we have. That scroll consisted of a few chapters. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to double check it today and I'll let y'all know tomorrow. And if I'm not mistaken, I know we call the 5 books of Moses the Torah, right? The first 5 books, but that includes all the stories and everything. Plus, you got the books of the prophets. But the meat of the instruction of what everybody is supposed to follow, you can find from Exodus chapter 13. I'm not 13. Exodus chapter 19, I believe it. I want to say 19 to 25, right? 19 to 25. And everything after 25, I believe up to 32 is like stuff for the priesthood, right? So, but if you take all that together, like literally, you can read through it. Like if you really set aside time, you can take those chapters and you can read the Torah, the meat of everything. You can read it every single day of your life. Like you really could. If you take out an hour of time daily, you can read through that, right? You can read through that every single day in about an hour's time, right? I was sharing it with my son. I was like, this is what I want you to write. You know, getting them into the habit and practice. Of course, they take breaks. So why I got to do this? You need to write something. No, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? But it's right there. I'll verify them chapters. I think is Exodus 19 through, and I'll just put like 32, which includes the priesthood stuff, right? So I'm gonna double check that and I'll share that with y'all tomorrow. So if that's something you want to do, at least you got it, right? And you can, so what happens is when you become very familiar with this right there, that right there, red flags will begin to bloop, bloop, bloop. Wait a minute. This goes against this, right? If you get familiar with this, and also with the surrounding stories, with the books of the prophets, how that tells a story when people got off key or they missed a step or they did some, well, Torah says this, we're not supposed to this, we're supposed to treat people like this. Here is how we are to act, conduct ourselves within Yahuwah's community, right? Everything is fair for everybody, fair for all, right? We honor one another, we honor him, we honor ourselves, right? All that is there. So I'll find that for y'all. And that way, if you want to, I'm just saying, yes, I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm just saying, consider it, right? Okay. Last chapter for today. 2 Chronicles chapter 35. Josiah celebrates Passover. Then Josiah announced that the Passover of Yahuwah would be celebrated in Jerusalem, and so the Passover lamb was slaughtered on the 14th day of the first month. Josiah also assigned the priests to their duties and encouraged them in their work at the temple of Yahuwah. He issued this order to the Levites, who were to teach all Israel and who had been set apart to serve Yahuwah. Put the holy ark in the temple that was built by Solomon, son of David, the king of Israel. You no longer need to carry it back and forth on your shoulders. Now, spend your time serving Yahuwah your God and his people Israel. Report for duty according to the family divisions of your ancestors, following the directions of King David of Israel and the directions of his son Solomon. Then stand in the sanctuary at the place appointed for your family division and help the families assigned to you as they bring their offerings to the temple. Slaughter the Passover lambs, purify yourselves, and prepare to help those who come. Follow all the directions that Yahuwah gave through Moses. Josiah provided 30,000 lambs and young goats for the people's Passover offerings, along with 3,000 cattle, all from the king's own flock and herds. The king officials also made willing contributions to the people, priests, and Levites. Hilkiah, Zechariah, Jehiel, the administrators of Yahuwah's temple, gave the priests 26,000 lambs and young goats, 300 cattle as Passover offerings. The Levite leaders, Koraniah and his brother Shemaiah and Nathanael, as well as Hashabiah, Jael, Josabad, gave 5,000 lambs and young goats and 500 cattle to the Levites for their Passover offerings. When everything was ready for the Passover celebration, the priests and the Levites took their places, organized by their divisions, and the king, as the kings had commanded. The Levites then slaughtered the Passover lambs and presented the blood to the priests, who sprinkled the blood on the altar while the Levites prepared the animals. They divided the burnt offerings among the people by their family groups so that they could offer them to Yahuwah as prescribed in the book of Moses. They did the same with the cattle. Then they roasted the Passover lambs as described, and they boiled the holy offerings in pots, kettles, and pans and brought them out quickly so the people could eat them. Remember, when they sacrificed, he offered up all these animals for sacrifice. Remember, they're gathering for Passover, and they're also going right into unleavened bread. Excuse me. So this is the wrong. Excuse me. I think sacrifice is the wrong word being used here, right? Because they're about to eat, right? And it says that sacrifices are food. Remember that, right? Unless it's a burnt offering, it's burnt completely to ashes. They're cooking, they're preparing. That's pretty much what they're doing, from the slaughtering of it to the draining of the blood, burning up the fat, roasting it, then passing it out to the people so they could eat, right? Then they roasted the Passover lambs as prescribed, and they boiled the holy offerings in pots, kettles, and pans, and they brought them out quickly so the people could eat them. Afterward, the Levites prepared Passover offerings for themselves and for the priests and the descendants of Aaron, because the priests had been busy from morning to night offering the burnt offerings and the fat portions. The Levites took responsibility for all of these preparations. The musicians, descendants of Asaph, were in their assigned places, following the commands that had been given by David, Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun, the king's seer. The gatekeepers guarded the gates and did not leave their posts of duty, but their Passover offerings were prepared for them by their fellow Levites. The entire ceremony for Yahuwah's Passover was completed that day. All the burnt offerings were sacrificed on the altar of Yahuwah, as King Josiah had commanded. All the Israelites present in Jerusalem celebrated Passover and the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. Never since the time of the prophet Samuel had there been such a Passover. None of the kings of Israel had ever kept a Passover as Josiah did, involving all the priests and Levites, all the people of Jerusalem, and people from all over Judah and Israel. This Passover was celebrated in the 18th year of Josiah's reign. After Josiah had finished restoring the temple, King Necho of Egypt led his army up from Egypt to do battle at Carchemish on the Euphrates River, and Josiah and his army marched out to fight him. But King Necho sent messengers to Josiah with this message: "What do you want with me, King of Judah? I have no quarrel with you today. I am on my way to fight another nation, and Yahuwah has told me to hurry. Do not interfere with Yahuwah, who is with me, or he will destroy you." But Josiah refused to listen to Necho, to whom Yahuwah had indeed spoken, and he would not turn back. Instead, he disguised himself and led his army into battle on the plain of Megiddo. So all of this that King Josiah just did, a righteous king now. Now you had to have known something. Like you really have had to know something, King, because you disguised yourself. Anytime they disguise themselves, like you kind of know for real, down in your shot, not for real. But you just in case, you got this just in case I'm going anyway, right? All this stuff you done. Could you not have also inquired of the those who hear from Yahuwah that were amongst the kingdom of Judah, to inquire if King Necho was telling the truth, or if Yahuwah was indeed sending him to attack this other nation? Like, Josiah had wisdom to do that, but he decided not to do it. He decided to endanger his head to the king, right? This always saddens me when you see righteous people. It's like, why would you not? Everything else you go ask Yahuwah, but this, do you think at once that you would never need wisdom from him, especially on a matter like this, a life and death matter? You just want to use your own reasoning this time because he's been with us here. So I've been in his presence long enough to know that I'll probably get to go, right? And he was wrong. But Josiah refused to listen to Necho, to whom Yahuwah had indeed spoken. And let me read what King Necho said to King Josiah again. Hold on, look. After Josiah had finished restoring the temple, King Necho of Egypt led his army from Egypt to do battle at Carchemish on the Euphrates River, and Josiah and his army marched out to fight against him, because clearly he had a pact with the people in Carchemish, right? Okay, otherwise he wouldn't have rose up to fight against him, you know. But King Necho sent messengers to Josiah with this message: "What do you want with me, King of Judah? I have no quarrel with you today. I am on my way to fight another nation, and Yahuwah has told me to hurry. Do not interfere with Yahuwah, who is with me, or he will destroy you." But Josiah refused to listen to Necho, to who had indeed spoken, and he would not turn back. Instead, he disguised himself and led his army into battle on the plain of Megiddo. But the enemy archers hit King Josiah with their arrows and wounded him. He cried out to his men, "Take me from the battle, for I am badly wounded." So they lifted Josiah out of his chariot and placed him in another chariot. Then they brought him back to Jerusalem, where he died. He was buried there in the royal cemetery, and all of Judah and Jerusalem mourned for him. The prophet Jeremiah composed funeral songs for Josiah, and to this day, choirs still sing these sad songs about his death. These songs of sorrow have become a tradition and are recorded in the Book of Laments. The rest of the events of Josiah's reign and the acts of devotion carried out according to what was written. Carried out according to what was written in the law of Yahuwah from beginning to end. All are recorded in the books of the kings of Israel and Judah. Right. So a lot of things we read about Jeremiah. Jeremiah is called the weeping prophet. So a lot of the stuff in Lamentations, he's actually talking about King Josiah, the urban Israelite. Shalom, shalom. All right, y'all. So that was our reading for today out of the book of the law and the prophets. That was 2 Chronicles 33, 34, and 35. Let's talk on over here to fossilized customs. Oh, I know what it was I want to mention, y'all. Y'all remember that video that I shared with y'all by Benaiah Israel? So y'all know who he is, right? And I'm not sure if you know about this movie he was doing. It's called Reclaiming the Throne. If you didn't know, it's out. I started watching it yesterday. Right now, it's only available for rent on Vimeo. Vimeo, right? You can go there. You can, and it's a 6-hour documentary, right? But it's split up. The first one is like an hour and a half, and the second two are like a little over 2 hours. But it's 3 of them, so you can watch them in increments. To rent it on Vimeo is $12. To rent all 3 of them is $12 total. $12, you get all 3 of them, but you can also purchase it. Purchasing it will be forever in your library as long as you're on Vimeo, have a Vimeo account. It's $75. So just in case y'all didn't know, it's out. It will be coming to Amazon and Amazon Prime and I forget the other one, but it's not on those yet. I will purchase it, but I'm not going to purchase it until it comes to Amazon. If they playing around on time, I'll probably go ahead and purchase it on Vimeo because I like to keep this. He does really, really, really good, thorough research, and it's really good. That first one is pretty awesome. It's pretty good. I love the graphics and how they do everything, but the way he explains everything is really clear. Going through the history of our people, pulling in all the missing pieces. It looks like all them. I ain't gonna say all the missing pieces because no one person has all the pieces. At least from his research and the resources that he have around him, collaborating with different people, with the diaspora all over the world, and he goes back and forth in Africa, here, everywhere we've been scattered to. He's pulling the pieces from all of those places. Some of the historical documents he shares, and it's really good. Even things that they have even posted in plain sight on the Jewish library that tells you about the true people. I'm just like, get out of here, right? And I'm just like, how? Y'all gotta watch them. So if you get a chance, go ahead and get it. Watch it. Like I said, I watched most of the first one. I probably got like 20 minutes left on the first one because I had to stop it last night because I had to go to sleep. A preview of the video, I'll put the link in here today. But if you just type in Google or go to YouTube and type in Reclaiming the Throne, his channel will come up. I think that's the only, well, I ain't gonna say the only one. Somebody else probably used that title, but put in Reclaiming the Throne by Benaiah Israel, right? Or it's Yisrael. He used the Y. With Israel, but it'll pop up. But just in case y'all can't find it, I'll share the link on YouTube and Facebook today. But if somebody's here that already has it, you can go ahead and post the link. But yeah, so I'll share it with y'all. But y'all, if y'all into research about our history and stuff and bringing the pieces together, he is an excellent resource. But also, if you go to my playlist, you can go to my playlist. There's a playlist. It's called Education, and it has Hidden Hebrews. That's a playlist dedicated solely to Benaiah Israel, all his research that he has done. If you click on that, you can find his channel, and it's right there because their last couple posts, they were letting you know that Reclaiming the Throne is out. It's available now for those who want to go ahead and watch it, right? Look, when I saw the first update yesterday, they was doing a little meeting. They said it is available for Vimeo now. I cut them off. I went right to the thing. I stopped watching them live. I went to Reclaim the Throne because I've been waiting for this for like the last. I'm like, yes, it's here. So, but I can always go back and watch the YouTube video. And it wasn't that long anyway. It was just a quick thing to let everybody know it was ready. That's all I needed to hear. Click and I cut it off. But guys, y'all, you have to check it out. It's so good. The resources, everything. Okay. So with that being said, so we're picking up yesterday where we're picking up where we left off yesterday with the Nimrod stuff and Santa Molech. So this section is probably all we're gonna read today. That's why we pause right here because thanks, brother. Because this is going a lot into Santa and the origins of it. So I'm gonna show you this picture that it has right here. Right? Okay. It's about to start talking about this. I hope this. Hold on. Pull this up on YouTube. Okay. I know it looks backwards to me, but it probably doesn't look backwards to y'all. Okay. So just in case you couldn't read it or it was blurry, the two women at the top clearly you can see is a Catholic nun. They were showing you the difference between the Catholic nun and a Buddhist nun. I'll show you that again. This is the Catholic nun. This is the Buddhist nun. There's really no difference, y'all. And down here at the bottom, this is right here. It shows Nimrod still rules. And right here, this is showing you how this has been turned into it's been camouflaged as this today, right? And Nimrod is still ruling. All the disgusting stuff that they were doing here, they're still doing today, all under the guise of this old jolly Saint Nick. Okay. Nimrod stuff and Santa Molech. We've heard all the nice stuff, but what entanglements do we have with a man who supposedly flies horned beasts through the air at night? It is about sorcery. He wears a wizard's cap. The red costume is recent, but it's the ancient color of fire. It's our cultural color for danger. The costume is trimmed in sheepskin. He descends into a fire pit at midnight. The hearth is directly linked to the idolatry of the Romans. The fire was sacred to them, and its place was the center of the pagan worship of their deities. Our mythology of him comes to us through Angleland or England. Wait, what are y'all doing? Hey, hey, little baby. What? Elijah woke? No. Hey, sweetness. No. Saya, hold her. Give me that baby. Give me the baby. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Look, see, they running through here with this child like she a toy. Come on. Where her daddy? Her daddy sleep? She gonna be right here with me. Go on, y'all. Here. They got the baby going through here, y'all. Hold on. Let me turn her around. Ooh, that was a good one, sweetness. Back up. Go give me her little blanket. All right, sweetness. Okay, back up. Hold on. I'm sorry, y'all. Wake Elijah up. I'm walking in here playing with her like she a toy. Sweetie, I saved you. Okay, let's do this. Okay. I thought they had a baby doll at first, but no, they have the real baby doll. Okay, give me that. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on. Give me this. Thank you. Hold on. All right, sweetness. Okay. So we'll have a visitor for a few minutes, so y'all. Tell her to realize she's gone. Hold on. All right, y'all. The fire was sacred to them, and its place was the center of the pagan worship of their deities. Our mythology of him comes to us through Angleland or England, and it traces to Holland and Germany and back to Turkey. One version involves a 3rd century story about Saint Nicholas. It has no mention of elves, chimneys, flying reindeer, or supernatural feats. The Christmas tree isn't mentioned in the story. Christianity has made no inroads into the northern areas of Angleland, Holland, Scotland, Finland, and Ireland until well into the 5th century. If anyone named Nicholas existed in Holland during the 3rd century, he was a pagan who obeyed his Druid priest. In the 8th century, a man named Boniface encountered these Druid-led people of the north and sought to convert them. He saw them bringing oak trees into their homes at the winter solstice, decorating them with gold balls representing testicles. Note picture on page 3. I will. Hold on. Page 3. I think we definitely showed this already. Maybe it means this right here. The picture that I showed y'all earlier. Right here. So the tree represents the penis. The balls that you decorate the tree with represents the testicles. We already know that the semen that they would screw up there, because we went over this before, represented the semen. All this is a big orgy sexual ritual. The wreath that people hang on their doors and windows, it represents the woman's vagina. I know it's gross when you think about it. I got a neighbor right across the street. Every time I look out the house now, they got there, and it's not a Christmas wreath. They just make wreaths all together for different seasons, and she got her spring wreath up, and every time I look at it, I'm just like, bleh. Like, I want to tell her, but, you know, I'm going to leave people alone. Hold up. He saw them bringing oak trees into their homes at the winter solstice, decorating them with gold balls representing testicles. Note the picture on page 3. The Druid means oak. The word Druid means oak wise because oak trees were sacred to them. This comes from Babylon. At the death of Nimrod, the wife mother Semiramis taught the young Tammuz to go into the groves, Asherim or forest, and place a gift on a tree at the winter solstice. Remember, y'all, when it says Semiramis, when it has wife mother, because remember all her shenanigans, right? Semiramis is called the wife mother because Semiramis was actually Nimrod's mother, right? But then the disgusting story goes that she married her son. Then her son died. Nimrod died. But when he died, she told the story that she was pregnant by him, right? But when she gave birth to this child whom they named Tammuz, they said that this baby was actually Nimrod reincarnated as Tammuz, right? So whenever you see scripture talking about the women weeping for Tammuz, it's talking about this whole shenanigans story right here, right? And it's been passed on today. So when y'all hear wife mother or see wife mother, that's why she was like his wife and his mother. So I mean, this is the whole disgusting thing, and that's where the whole father being the son comes into play. All that you see in Christianity, that's how all that comes into place. Like, how can you be one and the other? Like Trina said the other day, how can you be Loretta and Loretta's daughter? Okay, or how can you be Tom and Tom's son, right? Like how can I be Pam and be baby doll? Although she's my grandbaby, how can I be both, right? We got to use some good common sense, y'all, right? Yahuwah has given us all good common sense. Although sometimes we're fooled and we're made to drop into that sunken place where it doesn't seem like any sense is there at all, you know, but we have it. We just need to be brought out of that sunken place. Returning to Torah, returning to truth. What is truth? Oh, yeah, your words are truth. Your Torah is truth. Returning to the truth brings us up out of that sunken place. Yes, Jackson pooped. Oh my gosh! Go wake his daddy up. Go wake him up. Go wake his daddy up.
Have you ever looked right here? I see Jay.
Okay. I ain't on baby watch this morning. Baby girl, your mommy almost here too. Leave her alone. Back up. Okay. At the death of Nimrod, the wife mother Semiramis taught the young Tammuz to go into the groves, Asherim and forests in parentheses. And don't Isaiah. Mm-mm. and place a gift on a tree at the winter solstice. This was an offering to his father Nimrod, who was now the sun, S-U-N. The custom of tying a yellow ribbon around an oak tree represents a prayer to the sun. The oak tree was sacred to Odin. Branches of trees symbolize Nimrod to them. So decorating pagan temples and homes with holly, boughs, and wreaths was the custom. The wreaths are branches twisted into circles, so the branches would be associated with childbirth, representations of a womb and birth canal. Remember, it is the nativity of the son they celebrated. Ezekiel chapter 8, verses 14 through 18 shows how the women in Jerusalem were weeping for Tammuz, and the Levite priests, 25 men, were facing the rising sun and putting a branch to their nose. These customs were called a detestable thing. Do not learn the ways of the Gentiles, and do not be terrified by their signs. And in parentheses, signs that has zodiac. Do not be terrified by the signs, zodiac of the skies, although the Gentiles are terrified by them. For the customs of the Gentiles are delusion. They cut a tree from the forest, the work of a cutting tool. They decorate it with silver and gold, and they fasten it with nail and hammer. That is in Jeremiah. Bella, chill. That is in Jeremiah chapter 10, verses 2 through 4. A Benedictine monk, Boniface, influenced the Druids in 722 CE to adopt a slight variation on the Asherah tree. When Boniface saw the people of the Druids bringing oak trees into their home, he diverted them to consider the evergreen tree instead and used it to teach them about eternal life. He never taught them that the tree or the wreath was a detestable thing set apart for destruction, along with anyone who would bring it into their home. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 26. People of other regions use date palms. Scholars called it syncretism when a religious or philosophical behavior is united or combined with another behavior. It is an attempt to disguise one of them in the camouflage of the other by reinventing a new meaning and passing it into another culture. Teaching the children will ensure it will pass on to the next generation and the next, and so on. Because the behavior is cyclical and associated with the warmth and love of a family bond, the satanic scheme quickly adheres to the fabric of a culture and stays there. So you remember how when we was talking, he really just explained it again. When you go after the kids and you kind of like make it a ritual, what happens is the reason why people it's so hard for them to give up a lot of these pagan days is because of the family bonds that are created around it. Say, hey, mommy. Girl, they came through here like she was a toy. At first, I thought they had one of Bella's dolls, and I realized it was her. I said, it's the real baby doll. She was so good. My sweetness. It's so hard for people to give it up because of the family bonds that are created around it and the family memories. So it's not so much the issue of giving up the paganism of it all. It's people relating that to the times. It's like we gotta give up family times. It's like it's that right there that they can't seem to part with, right? The memories that are created and built around these particular days, right? So that's what it's talking about. It says teaching the children, teaching the children will ensure it will pass on to the next generation and the next, and so on. Because the behavior is cyclical, go around in a circle, and associated with the warmth and love of the family bond, the satanic scheme quickly adheres to the fabric of a culture and stays there. To question or abandon pagan behavior is akin to rejecting one's family, right? So it's like they like, and it's, maybe we got to stop doing that. So we got to stop being with our family. It's like you have to teach them. You have to use like a surgeon's scalpel really to separate the lies from the truth. No, it's not that we don't want to be with family or hang out with family, because family is our thing. But you have to remove the lies. Let's create these family memories and bonds, not around this, but around something else. We can still do this, but let's break away from this, because if we keep doing it here, it'll keep us in a cycle of doing what we're not supposed to be doing. So that's how you have to use wisdom. And a lot of times that's where you get a lot of kickback in families. Because of that one thing, you attach the memories to something that you want them to keep, and it's like it's like, well, this is a ritual that I've seen the Jewish people do, right? And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's something good, but it's the same principle they're using. So when they're teaching their children Torah or the scriptures or even like the Talmud and stuff, they'll take a bit of honey and they'll put it on their tongue. It's to represent the sweetness of Yahuwah's words, right? So the honey, every time they taste honey, it will remind them of how sweet the words of Yahuwah is, and it takes His word and it identifies it and it bonds it with something sweet, right? And it's like we want that, right? That's good. We want that. And it's the same way. They try to do the same thing, but they use craft. They take something good, the family time, family bonding, the memories, and they take it and they connect it. They try to bond it to something that looks good, but in all actuality, it will kill you if you continue to take it. It's like poison being coated with candy. That's exactly what it is, right? So like I said, we have to use a surgeon's scalpel to remove the error from the truth, right? And once we take this away, we need to bond this to something that's good and full of truth, right? So that we can continue to live and not continue to live in a way that's going to slowly kill us, right? Okay. Because the behavior is cyclical and associated with the warmth and love of the family bond, the satanic scheme quickly adheres to the fabric of a culture and stays there. The question or abandoned pagan behavior is akin to rejecting one's family. From their perspective, rejecting traditions appears to be unloving and taken very personally. The scheme is insidious and very difficult to come out of because of the bonds of family are entwined into the traditions so tightly. Those who want to continue in the traditions feel they have been betrayed and their loved one has fallen into a cult. In truth, the traditions are the culture that has ensnared them in it, and the one who has escaped has been set free by the truth. All right? So we gotta think about that, especially. So try not to go so hard on your family, especially if they haven't come out of it. You have to understand what's going on, right? Don't come in there, oh, this pagan. Although we know, let's take what we know and use wisdom to help save our family, right? Because the Christmas, when you say Christmas, family time, good food, yes, right? They're associating good times with a pagan practice. So you have to be careful in how you present it. Don't go ham on them like, oh, y'all going to hell. Y'all worshiping the devil. Like, we get that. We all know that, but they don't know that yet, right? And you don't want to do anything really that's going to create rifts and tears between your family. And I see that happening a lot of times. So when I realized that a little bit early on, it's like, okay, so I want the enjoyment of family. I love family. Yahuwah has given us a big family. I grew up in the midst of a big family. Like, we all lived in the same neighborhood. My cousins were more like brothers and sisters. And a lot of us, we still are like that today. Everybody always at somebody's house, so that's how we grew up. But the thing is, we also grew up around these holidays, right? And that was the big thing. Although we seen each other all the time, a lot of us who was in each other's houses all the time, holidays was the biggest thing for us, right? I still go back and watch the videos from the Christmases when we would get together and we put on the Christmas shows and stuff, and we beating on pots and pans. And my cousin was saying we putting on the concerts because it was good family fun. It's the memories that lock us in, but the memories are locked to pagan practices. We wasn't necessarily like worshiping Satan or anything. We just there amongst one another, having a good time, joking with family. You know how you do when you get with family. It's the occasion that brought you together. And sprinkled in there, okay, there's a Christmas tree there, whatever. But it's like let's create those family times outside of the pagan rituals, right? So you have to understand it's learn how to separate it, but it's kind of hard. So like I said, you just got to use some wisdom, right? You however your family is, you just got to ask y'all for wisdom. You don't necessarily need to distance. You definitely need to separate yourself from this, but not necessarily alienate yourself from your family, right? Because if you're the only one that they know that clearly has the truth, why would you alienate? Not saying you join in, but y'all get what I'm saying. You separate yourself from the pagan practices, but don't alienate yourself so much that they don't even have a outlet for truth to get to them, right? I hope that makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense. Hezekiah said, how about friends, Miss Pam? I'm having a big problem with fake friends recently. I think the more I talk about this truth, the further I push them away. That's a good one. Okay, so you said it depends. Are they like I see you say fake friends? How are you defining fake friends? Is it somebody like a friend that's like truly a friend? Because you have friends that are truly friends that it doesn't matter like what you get into. It's like the friendship is on a whole nother level, right? Those friends that tend to stick around, even if they don't necessarily agree with your beliefs or how you're changing. A friend is a friend, and a friend will be there for you, right? Now, people who are like more like associates or surface type friends, I think they will fall into the category of maybe what you're saying, fake friends. So those are the ones that tend to fall away, right? But a true friend, they'll stick around for a while, right? As long as you're not doing foolishness. Like I said, a real friend, they'll keep a close eye on you, even though they may not say anything, but they will watch you. Like if they truly love you from their heart and they're a true friend, they're gonna stick around. Although the relationship may become a little, I ain't gonna say strained, but it seemed like you may not hang out as much because of the differing beliefs now, but they won't completely go away, so to speak, right? They'll kind of watch you just to make sure, because they want to make sure you ain't about to fall off a cliff, right? They want to stick around just to make sure if I need to save my brother, I'm gonna be here. You know, he may not be seeing all the weird. You see what I'm saying? A true friend to stick around. Like I said, surface type friends, they will tend to fall away. He said, but it's getting harder to be around people who aren't in the truth, hearing about the wickedness they're engaged in, but I can't find anyone in the truth to socialize with. Now, I agree with that. I'm not saying keep hanging out with people that's like constantly, because like I said, you need to separate yourself from the foolishness, from the all of that, right? I'm not saying you have to like hang out with them constantly or even hang out with them at all if that's all they do. Like I would stop hanging out with them, me personally, because if they're much stronger in what they're doing, it's gonna pull you right back in there. So you have to set yourself apart and become a pillar and a light. You don't have to constantly go in on them, but they will see you setting yourself apart and they're going to notice the change and the difference and what it should do. You don't necessarily have to go after them. Your light should draw them in. Like seriously, I know growing up in the church, I'm telling you, it's from my personal experience. Growing up in the church, you got to get out there, you got to go, and you hounding people. People see, oh Lord, here she come. You know, oh Lord, here he come, and you trying to hide and you ducking phone calls. Yeah, association becomes assimilation. So you set yourself apart. And if they were true friends, they'll keep reaching out to you, whatever. You can call and check on them, but I wouldn't necessarily hang with them. But the whole point of the matter is, as you set yourself apart as a light and you clean your life up. Yes, you can, Isaiah. And when they see truth coming from you, although they may not recognize it right off top, but they will watch you. I'm telling you, from what I know personally, they'll watch you. You don't necessarily have to go after them. They'll begin to reach out to you, because if they too truly are looking for life and light, they're going to begin to see flickers of light coming from your direction, and they will hone in on that light, and they're going to find light, and they're going to come back to you, right? So truth draws people in. You don't have to go running after them, right? You really don't. They'll come after you. So a friend is always laughing with me when I talk about my beliefs, never encouraging, never reciprocating. I'm concerned, a very selfish nature all around, and this is so-called best friend. You just got some people that they're just engrossed with themselves, you know. And like I said, as time goes on, you will truly be able to tell, you know. So I wouldn't necessarily write them off, but distance yourself if need be. But you know real quickly, like, I know who I can talk to about the things of Yah and truth, and those who I can't talk to. And you can tell even as if it comes up in a conversation and it seems like something, maybe the other person will bring it up, you will know at the point that where they stop listening. And if you're wise, you would stop. You would just stop. Like, don't cast your pearls to people who not listening, right? Don't even waste your breath, because they didn't already cut you off and they start looking. Oh yeah, man. Oh, you know, hold on 1 second. I gotta answer this call. Like, seriously, you can tell it. So you don't need this. Just drink it out of here. Get a straw. Drink out of this.
I did taste this.
Okay. So, but you can tell. Just use a little wisdom. Yeah, let your life walk, be a witness to others, friend or foe. Right? Yeah, that's perfect. So, but yeah, people who looking for truth, they're gonna come. Hey, chill. They're gonna come searching for truth, and they're gonna find you. If they're a real friend, they'll come back. You know. So, bless them. Go on about your business. Go on about your walk, living in truth. You know. So that's I would just step back for a little bit. You know, you don't have, like I said, you don't necessarily have to completely write them off. You know, maybe it's just not their time of awakening, or maybe they haven't. You get what I'm saying? But when they begin looking for truth, they'll know. Oh, I remember Hezekiah. You know, he said this. Let me go back and ask him this. Hey man, you remember way back when you were saying, yes, baby girl, we was having this conversation and you mentioned something about, you know, and you'll tell. So it's like, okay, let's see, looking or, you know, but you can tell, you know how to feel people out when they come asking you questions, you know. So, but yeah, I wouldn't take it like that. Yeah, just step back a little bit. And when he's ready for truth, at least he'll know you are a place where he can go with, or you at least have some information that he's looking for, right? So just be the pillar of light and truth, and people know where to go when they need somebody that's real, like we used in the church, right? People playing around, they know those who can get a prayer to the Lord. Those who pray, they may not come talk to you any other time. You know what? Look, I need you to pray for me, because I know the Lord hears from you. Like, people know who to go to, those who are serious, at least whom they perceive to be those in the truth, or perceive to be somebody who will listen to, or somebody whom they perceive to know and have truth. And hopefully you are that type of person. People know where to go when to get what they need most of the time, right? If you're looking for somebody authentic, at least right off top, you will know who you don't need to go to, right? So, but just be that person where he knows when he's ready, I can go back to Hezekiah, or I can go back to Quentin. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. If there really was a person named Nicholas, and it's not all just a legend. Hold on. Did I read this already? Oh, I think I skipped all of this. Hold on, y'all.
Crybaby.
Bella, stop. Don't call nobody a crybaby. Look who come out. Oh, okay. I did. I skipped all the way down. Okay, I read this last sentence and see where we at. 109. Okay. In truth, the traditions are the culture that has ensnared them in it, and the one who has escaped has been set free by truth. Molech. Okay. Molech is lurking nearby at Christmas. In truth, he is Santa Claus. The Christmas tree, whether an oak, evergreen, or a palm, points back to Jezebel's Baal, Asherah rebellion, the witchcraft of Babel. It was in the original garden that we first find that trees are involved in determining whether mankind would sin or not. Satan is a usurper, liar, and imitates closely many things. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. Satan is still using trees to whisper lies to us. When we go out to stores at the end of the Roman year, we often walk by many of these displays, knowing the trees are Asherim and the wreaths are fertility symbols, female genitalia. We'll cover more details about the Christmas tree and the wreath custom shortly. If there really was a real person named Nicholas, and it's not just a legend, he sure went through some changes. The oldest account of his existence is vague and of relatively recent origin. His location places him among the Germanic Dutch. But as I mentioned, these people were not yet Christians. The date and location for him makes it an anachronism. The time is being true. But hold on. Anachronism. Anachronism. The date and location for him makes it an anachronism. The time is against it being true. Oh, okay. I think I see what it's saying. It said, okay, so it what they're saying based on what happened at the time, they don't relate. Like this can't be true because this could not have happened at this time because this was going on. I believe that's what it's saying. Hold on. The date and location for him makes it an anachronism. The time is against it being true. In the 3rd century, the people of the north were barbarians, meaning bearded Aryans. They were druids who burned their enemies and criminals in wicker cages over fires, threw reefs into lakes to water idols, like we still see people do in fountains, burned children as offerings to the sun, and placed jack-o'-lanterns outside their homes lit by candles made from the fat of their own children. Y'all putting jack-o'-lanterns on y'all porches. Y'all better stop it. If they weren't pagans, nobody was. The legendary Nicholas couldn't have been there at that time. Another major problem is this. They claim Nicholas was a bishop, presbyter, elder. Yet at his death on December the 6th, he had only reached the ripe old age of 17. Bishop means elder from the Greek word presbys, old man. The tale contains many conflicting facts. The RCC, or remember, RCC is the Roman Catholic Church. The RCC honors him as a saint. How did we get from Nicholas to Santa Claus? In the late Middle Ages, the Germanic Dutch who told the story of Nicholas to English listeners spoke in a very pronounced accent. When they said Saint Nicholas, it sounded like this: Santi Claus. Saint Nicholas. Okay. Colas. Saint Nicholas. I probably said that wrong, but y'all get it. The English heard it as Santa Claus, and the Spanish form of Santa simply means saint. Sometimes you will see the form sainty in old books from earlier in the 20th century. Oh, okay. So what I was mispronouncing, I was trying to pronounce it the way it was spelled, but the way it sounded was Santa Claus, which is how he was saying Saint Nicholas. He was okay. Let me see. Look, I'm read it again. In the late Middle Ages, the Germanic Dutch who told the story of Nicholas to English listeners spoke in a very pronounced accent. When they said St. Nicholas, it sounded like this: Santa Claus. The English heard it as Santa Claus, and the Spanish form Santa simply means saint. You will sometimes see the form Santi in old books from the earlier 20th century. All right, where we at? We can read this. Yeah, we're gonna. It's Saturday. We're gonna read this. Okay. The Irish is still talking about Christmas, y'all, but it's telling you about the Irish potato blight, and then it's gonna go into all the details. Okay. The Irish, or the Irie land, had grown very dependent upon the potato in the 18th and 19th century. The potato was a transplant to Ireland from Colombia, South America. In 1846, a fungus destroyed the crops, causing widespread famine in Ireland. Vast numbers of people died, and the decline of the population was catastrophic. So much so that the only hope of escape from death was immigration. It was precisely at this point that most Irish came to the United States, fleeing the Great Famine. What they brought to the United States for the first time was Catholicism, since many of the earlier colonizers had fled here from the religious persecution of Catholic and Anglican, what is it? Anglican intolerance. These Irish Catholics had the rich cultural background of Druidism, which they had blended together with Roman Catholicism. Their belief in elves, banshees, leprechauns, fairies, luck, and all sorts of Celtic magic came with them. They brought their pumpkin ritual, seen as Halloween, which had been a Druid festival honoring Samhain, their deity of the dead. They also brought their Christmas tree to tradition along with Christmas, which had been outlawed as pagan in many colonies. The Catholics in South America have assimilated the cultural background of the Aztecs. Other Catholics from around the world would not recognize many things they do, and so it is with them in many other parts of the world. Whatever the indigenous pagans were doing before became intermixed with the Roman Catholic order of things, camouflaging the paganism. The Haitian voodoo of Cajun Catholics mixed pagan and Catholic traditions down in Louisiana, where the alligators grow so mean. There were no pumpkins on porches or Christmas trees in America until the potato fungus drove the Irish people to flee their homeland and migrate to North America. And this makes sense because I was doing some research on some of this stuff on how when they were coming to America. It was really, really interesting. I forget what it was, but this was a couple days ago because they actually had some old pictures that they had taken from some white skinned people who had come to the Americas with their children to flee some of the famine and stuff that was going on in England and some of these other places. It was really interesting. Let's see. There were no hold on. There were no pumpkins on porches or Christmas trees in America until the potato fungus drove the Irish people to flee their homeland and migrate to North America. Things like paganism go better with Coke. COKE. In the late 1800s, a pharmacist put some cocaine in a sweetened In the late 1800s, a pharmacist put some cocaine in a sweetened, bubbling cola beverage and named it Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola was invented by Dr. John Pemberton, an Atlanta pharmacist. By the 1930s, it was a major business and it had its own advertising department, strategists, and artists. One of the Coca-Cola advertising managers, Sunblum, Sun Sunblom decided to attempt something new. The Dutch Irish character called Santa Claus was beginning to get a lot of attention, so he set his mind on aligning the Coca Cola product with him. In Sunblom's time, Santa Claus did not look like he does now. The original character was an Irish transplant coming from people who had based. Hey, Bella and Isaiah, stop. The original character was an Irish transplant coming from people who had based their beliefs on druid magic and elves. The 19th century poem, The Night Before Christmas, had catapulted our Christmas elf into the spotlight because the character was so appealing. Sunblum used his imagination to change Santa Claus into what we think he looks like today. Before Santa was 2 feet tall, skinny, and wore green. He had a long white beard, and for all practical purposes, he was a leprechaun, elf creature with magical powers to grant wishes, watch you without being seen, and so on. He could also do you harm. The alignment with the hearth is another pagan syncretism, right down to the stockings hung by the chimney with care. To make this night visitor charming and more human, Sunblum made him a full sized man, jolly and plump, to better assume the distinctive shape of the Coke bottle. He also used the appealing red and white product colors to clothe Santa in. The drooping wizard hat was a must. The final artwork was combined with a marketing message to encourage customers to leave a bottle of Coke near the hearth when he visits at midnight, Christmas Eve. How many of y'all remember them Christmas commercials with Santa Claus getting Coke? I remember them. They do specialized glass Coke bottles with Santa on them still. Yo, now I'm sure everybody know that the whole thing. They used to actually put cocaine in Coca-Cola. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, I've known that for a while. He just getting a little bit more details here. Okay. Now you know why little children say, but how can Santa fit down our chimney? Isn't he too big? He's big now, but they also tell the children that Santa has magical powers. When he was less than 2 feet tall, he could fit into many such tight squeezes. Telling an outright lie to your children has an effect on them later in life. It harms their faith in the truth. Yeah, from fossilized customs. But you can go pull this up. You can actually this is it's well it's really like common knowledge. You can Google this, So, but yeah, telling an outright lie to your children has an effect on them later in life. It harms their faith and truth. It perpetuates the lie for generations down the line and cripples them for life regarding believing in things they cannot see, such as an unseen creator. Lying to them about Santa certainly isn't going to help them believe who is the father of lies. Oh, Uncle JB, thank you for that. He said you could only get it from the pharmacy when they were kids. Coca-Cola. Wow. Tradition is a powerful stronghold. If you put up a tree, hang stockings by the fireplace, and exchange gifts this coming Roman December, watch for the mistletoe. It's poisonous, and a pagan spell surrounds its ritual use too. It's just a parasite to a tree, but the custom of hanging it up and collecting kisses comes from Druidism. The name Saint Nicholas may coincidentally relate to Revelations 2:15 and the reference to the Nicolaitans. The messenger to the assembly at Pergamum was to carry a warning about the teachings of Balaam that they embraced. Likewise, you also have to do to, likewise you also have to do to those who hold to the teachings of the Nicolaitans. Repent therefore. It has been said that these were a sect of religious teachers who lorded over the laity, which is what Nicolaitans mean. I smell Nimrod all over this, don't you? I don't get the impression that Yahuwah likes us to mix our worship of him with pagan designs or wants us to have any contact with it. Light and darkness cannot be mixed. And right here, when I said Yahuwah, it actually has Yahusha. So remember, he still got a little bit of leaven in his book, right? So we got to cross that out. It's not Yahusha that doesn't like us to mix our worship of him because we ain't supposed to be worshiping Yahusha. Remember, a lot of times when you say Yahusha, people still thinking it's second person outside of Yahuwah. So that's why I said let's cut off that particular name where we refer to Yahuwah as, which meaning Yahuwah is salvation or Yahuwah is my deliverer. But it's not a second person, it's still Yahuwah. But a lot of people don't quite understand that when you say Yahuwah and Yahusha, they're still thinking two separate people when it's Yahuwah alone. It's just like me, and if you would use a different name for me, but you're still talking about me, you can call me by my shortened form name, Pam, or you can call me Pamela. I'm still me. It's not me and somebody else. Or you can call me some of the nicknames, or you can call Yahusha a nickname of Yahuwah because he's the God who saves. So in Hebrew, saying the God who saves or the God who is a deliverer would be pronounced Yahusha, but you're still talking about him. Like some of my family can call me by a nickname. Some call me PJ Sparkle. Some call me Pamela Lamb or Miss Twiggles or whatever, but it's not another person. They're still referring to me. And that's the same thing when we refer to Yahuwah. But since a lot of people don't understand that, we're just going to cut off all the nicknames, all the different names they call him, and just call him by the name he said his name is forever. My name is Yahuwah forever. So we'll use Yah and we'll use Yahuwah, the long and the short form, but all the extra things, we'll just say Yahuwah, who is the God who heals. Like we ain't gonna change the suffix and make you think it's a different name. We're just gonna say Yahuwah, he's the God who heals, or Yah, he's the God who heals. That's how we're gonna do it. So it don't get your mind off into a wrong place thinking it's a second person when it's not. It's him and him alone. It always has been. It always will be. All right. So, like I said, every time we get to that, because I know some of y'all may have the book, y'all may be like, my book say Yahusha. You said Yahuwah. So that's why every time we get to one of these places, we'll correct it and I'll explain it just a little bit, just in case you may be a person who watches this video for the first time and haven't watched any of the other videos. Okay. Where we at? Okay. Now let's consider how the Christmas tree is mixed up into all of this. Okay. So we'll read this. Okay, so we'll read this part about the Christmas tree and we'll pause on at the bottom of this page when it gets to what or who is Asherah. Okay. We'll go a little bit long on the weekend since it's Saturday. Some of y'all still may have to work, but still, same rules apply. If you gotta go to work, get out of here. This is recorded. You can come back and watch this later. Don't get in trouble by watching my video, y'all. When you're supposed to be at work working. All right. Asherah, the Christmas tree connection. Baal and Asherah, the Sun King and his consort. Asherah is known in scripture as Asherah is known in scripture as the Queen of Heaven and is called Artemis by the Ephesians in the book of Acts, chapter 19. The word Asherah is found at least 40 times in the Tanakh. And the Tanakh is the book of the law and prophets and the writings, and refers to a wooden object used in the worship of a consort of Baal. The image of Asherah was a tree used by pagan Canaanites and Sidonians. One of these pagan Sidonians was Jezebel, and here it says Isabel, but just in case y'all didn't know that it's Jezebel, who married Ahab, king of northern Israel, a Samaritan king. Northern Israel was in apostasy, being led into rebellion by their leadership and violated the covenant of Yahuwah. They added an 11th commandment: you shall worship Yahuwah, your Elohim, in Mount Gerizim. Note how this is one of the topics of conversation between Yahusha and the Samaritan woman at the well in John chapter 4. The northern tribes began to worship the Baals of Baalim, consisting of Baal and Asherah, influenced by King Ahab's Sidonian wife, Jezebel. Yahusha mentions Jezebel's teachings at Revelation 2, and he is not happy. Such tree worship was put under the ban, yet the 10 northern tribes failed to carefully guard Yahuwah's commandments or declarations. Asherah became the deal breaker, and the northern tribes were taken away into the nations, so they remain now after 2700 plus years. When northern Israel was dispersed into the nations by the Assyrians in 722 BCE, they carried this tree custom with them. The lost tribes of dispersed Israel have preserved one of their most cherished pagan customs among them, the Christmas tree or the Asherah. If you were brought up with this custom, then you are most likely descended from these northern tribes, even if only doctrinally. You were taught to practice an ancient pagan form of idolatry and never knew it. Asherah was the queen of heaven. See Jeremiah chapter 7 and chapter 44. Now read how the Creator feels about such behavior. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 26. Do not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. Utterly arbor and detest it, for it is set apart for destruction. Yahuwah warned Israel not to erect an Asherah next to his altar, nor bring a detestable thing into our house. So if y'all heard the other day when I was sitting here talking, I was talking about how things were going wrong in my house. And I was like, I even started going through the kids' toys and my older son. He said, that's why all my action figures were missing. Can you throw them away? I was like, yes, because I didn't know if, it had brought a curse into the house. So that I understood that you could actually, not just your actions, but you could actually bring something that's considered cursed into your house. And if you've never experienced that, I'm telling you, it is crazy. Like, voodoo dolls or things like that, or something that somebody has been practicing witchcraft over, it will literally change the atmosphere of your home. It's crazy how it happens. You may not understand it, you may not even be able to see, but your house will go haywire, right? And if people don't understand that, they won't even think, wait a minute, is it something? Have we bought something in here? Have we watched something? They don't realize it literally opens a spiritual door somewhere. Some people don't understand that, but if you experience it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? And I'll just read this again where Yahuwah says, not to even bring these things into your house. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 26. Do not bring a detestable thing into your house, or you, like it, will be set apart for destruction. Utterly arbor and detest it, for it is set apart for destruction. Yahuwah warned Israel not to erect an Asherah next to his altar, nor bring a detestable thing into our house. Even though we may not remember what it represented long ago, Yahuwah hasn't forgotten at all. He does not change or forget the origins of behavior. The Asherah is a deal breaker with Yahuwah. He won't stand for it. He dispersed the northern tribes of Israel into the nations, and they have lived as pagans for 2,700 plus years. They left Yahuwah's covenant, but they have held fast to the Asherim, or the Asherim is plural of Asherah. Asher is a Hebrew term meaning happy and is a word used as a proper noun. The father of the tribe of Asher, Aleph Shin Resh. This term was modified and became the word Asherah, a proper name used by pagans for the female consort of Baal or Celtic Baal. Baal Asherah worship is clearly seen during the time of Eliyahu, which is we know as Elijah, the prophet Elijah. Baal Asherah worship is clearly seen during the time of Eliyahu, when 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah assembled at Mount Carmel, and Eliyahu changed them to decide whether, and Eliyahu or Elijah challenged them to decide whether Yahuwah is Elohim or Baal and his consort Asherah. Okay, and so we'll pause right here, and we'll pick up tomorrow with what or who is Asherah. And I'll probably reread Deuteronomy again so we can flow right into it. All right, y'all, we got to go. The babies is up. They getting hype first thing this morning. Okay, the page. Okay, so we read Fossilized Customs, page 79 to page 84. And earlier we read 2nd Chronicles 33, 34, and 35. Y'all, it is May 22nd, 2021, Saturday, day 160 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 3-year consecutive day count, day 829. Let's go ahead and do the blessing, y'all. I know my background is getting quite loud. And the blessing, y'all, is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. And remember the Nazarite vows in the first 21 verses of Numbers chapter 6. Man or woman can take it. You probably should consider at least taking at least once in your life. Set yourself aside to Yah. Okay. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto Aaron and unto his son, saying, on this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, may Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Okay, beautiful people. I don't think it was any other questions here today. So I see y'all back here tomorrow morning. If you can make it, y'all willing. Back here 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I stand my post. Bruce. Bye, y'all.